Alright, test, test. 1, 2, 3. See if these things work. Music, okay. Oh! My timer is not working. I don't think my timer is working. Oh no! My little timer thing. Oh, I'll have to see what's going on with there. Yeah, my little timer thing in the corner. Oh, it's not working. Oh, shucks. Okay. Oh, huh. Okay. Oh, is the... Oh no. It might be something wrong with the text source code. Sorry, I'm talking about something totally different. Okay, well, my timer's not working. But it should start... Oh, we should start in a minute. I gotta get ready. Whoopsie daisy. Test, test. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I gotta figure out how to work the timer. The font should be correct. Aha! My digital font. It's missing. Okay. Well, somehow my font got deleted. But at least now I know what the issue is. Would it have been under my downloads? Yeah, okay. I have to fix the font again. Well, that's unfortunate. It should be here, though. I don't get it. Digital 7 mono 7. Well, shucks. I guess I'll just troubleshoot this. Oh! Oh no, is everything falling apart? There we go. Alright, Vtutoring live. So while I wait for someone to get in, I'm just gonna try to figure out a little bit of the font thing. I don't know, do I need to do that now? Probably not. Probably not. Okay. So I guess I'll have to work on that later. Note to self, fix the font. How curious that that got messed up. And that's unfortunate too, because I have a timer at the end to kind of give people, you know, a chance to step away. But there's that. Okay, so today's lesson. I think last time I was trying to do algebra, and it kind of went into budgeting. So I think that's more interesting. That's more practical. But I'm still trying to be honest about it and not just be a financial advisor and just try to tutor on stuff that people might need help with algebra. Although again, you know, if anyone needs how should I put this? Help with math that's relevant to other stuff that they do, then that's fine. It happens, right? Because we have there's budgeting. Do I know much about taxes? Not as much as I'd like to. Investing's always fun. And it's all related to, you know, basic math. That is kind of the things I want to help people understand. Okay. Sorry for the dead air. I'm just going over the lesson plan. But I'm having trouble finding that as well. My goodness gracious. Well, at least the music's working. That's a plus. So it's still early in the school year. I don't know if people would need any kind of specialty tutoring for anything, because it's all still very new. And if anyone needs help with something that's very complicated, like derivatives, derivatives, that's fine. Oh, hello. Oh, hey, hello again, book buyer. Wait, book buyer? Were you bookkeeper last time, or were you always book buyer? I think you were a book buyer. Hello again. Sorry, I just remember you were doing bookkeeping, so I kind of remembered bookkeeper. But yeah, hello again. Would you want to do more budgeting stuff? Because unfortunately, I wasn't able to look over the... I checked out the website for the... whatchamacallit? Oh, wait, don't tell me, don't tell me. It is... I have it on my phone. Accounting coach. Yeah, okay. So I have it, and I was gonna check it out, but I ended up getting swamped with other stuff, unfortunately. But how's that class going? Is it going well? Are you having fun with learning accounting? Did you finish everything on the first day again? Because that's pretty awesome that you're kind of ahead of the curve. Let me make some room here. The answer key for something. Okay, sure. How can I help? Or, yeah, something. Is it accounting something? Is it math something? Is it English something? Whatever it is, I'll try to help you out. Maybe we could solve it together. Hopefully. Answered. Wait. Terrible spelling. Oh, so you think you did something right and it's not showing up in the answer key. Like at all. Ah, okay. Well, yeah. I remember that sometimes that can happen. Maybe if you answer it right. Well, okay. I don't know about your work or your program that you're using. However, there are some things that are a little funky with technology sometimes, where maybe the right answer isn't the right answer because there's another right answer. It's just probably a coding thing. If you have an issue with that, you could probably ask your teacher, lecturer, I would totally recommend, you could just even shoot them an email. Just say, hey, I answered this question where maybe I thought it was A, but it's not saying it. I've been procrastinating on that. That's totally fine. And that's basically the only thing you could do. We only have discussion boards. Oh, discussion boards. That's fascinating. So like where maybe someone talks about something and someone else talks about something under that topic? Like that? Ah, okay. Yeah. So that's cool. That's very cool. And maybe that someone else has, well, I don't know. If it's a work answer, I don't know if you're allowed to share answers, just saying like, hey, I got something here, but it's saying that it's not that. What's going on? But yeah. You could always maybe ask, again, the person who's going to be grading it, I think would be the best bet. But other than that, if it's just the one problem, that's fantastic. Yeah, if it's just the one problem, hey, that's like what, 90%, 94%? Alright, good stuff. Alright, well, since you're here, then I might as well go back to talking about budgeting. Unless you want to talk more about accounting stuff. Procrastinating has a 5-day gap? Aw. Accounting, please. Okay, sure. Let's do accounting then. What would you like to know? Or what kind of stuff are you on right now? Cogs. Okay. Now, is that something that you're learning ahead? Or is that something that you're learning right now? Or is that something that you're just kind of curious about? Ahead. Okay. And I guess because it's ahead, maybe you don't have access to the books and the materials, which might be unfortunate. Yeah. Well, then this is a wonderful opportunity for us to learn together with a good old Google. Alright. Well, because unless I could actually see what you got, or you could like kind of put on here what you got. If it's just learn ahead, we'll just kind of get an idea. And you know what? This is actually a great thing to do. So say, for example, if you're applying for a job, and they have some kind of specialty software that you've never heard about and you don't know about, you could research what it is and then see, oh yeah, I've heard of this program. I know that it's supposed to do this. Is it similar to this other program that I've used? So this is a good habit. Good stuff. Alright, cost of goods sold. Cogs. Sorry for the penmanship. I'm working on it. Although I'm not used to writing with a mouse. So cogs. This is... Aha! I see. It's coming back to me. Alright, so gross profit is revenue minus cogs. Which seems kind of simple, right? The money you get in minus the money you're going out. Now what's actually included in it, according to my super secret internet source, is, let's see, it says here, materials, Materials, items, ooh, freight. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I'll just write this down just to kind of have it. If a book costs $8 to make and you sell it for $25, then you take... Yeah, that's basically it. But also, not only do you just say the book costs $8 to make, it's helpful to kind of break it down into its pieces. So materials, shipping, whoops. Well, I guess it's freight is the technical term, so I'll put freight. But yes, that's exactly right. IGHC? Yeah. And then also labor, storage. Ooh, overhead. That's a nice one. And then returns. So yes, exactly. If you have something that you take $8 to make, and it costs $20 to sell, then you make... Oh, where's my pen? There it is. $12. But it's also helpful when you're looking at COGS to kind of break into its pieces, because some of these can be disproportionately higher than others. So say, for example, materials, right? Maybe the materials can be cheap. Maybe they can be really expensive. It kind of depends. If it's usually something that you... So this is more like, I guess, personal business. If you're doing something like Etsy, then you can kind of control the materials, right? But if you have part of a business and they might have contracts, then they would have vendors who provide the materials, which maybe they say, you'll provide us so many materials per fiscal year, right? And then you would kind of figure out, oh, so I would be responsible for telling the higher-ups, hey, this is really into our budget? Yes, if they listen. If they listen, yes, you could absolutely say that, you know, one of these elements and others could be definitely eating into a budget. So for an example, as a contemporary example, is freight. Right now, there used to be, or there was, a de minimis. Thing where you could import goods that were under $800 into the United States. And that is now temporarily paused. And so now because of that, a lot of goods are having an increased cost, not really necessarily because of freight specifically. Freight would be more, I guess I would kind of, I'm counting, yeah, I know it's not affecting you. Oh, you're Canadian. All right, nice. Well, again, here's a contemporary example to kind of see what can happen, right? So freight would also include things like taxes. Although I guess maybe that's its own separate category. But for the taxes under freight, that would now be increased dramatically because of this change to the de minimis clause. Labor, again, it depends on the organization. So if it's for something like a book, and you have it, there we go, a book. So if you have like labor for a book and you have it made through a company, they might have the book assembled elsewhere. That good old made in, and pick your country. Let's just use China. There we go. So that would save cheap labor, but also another way to save labor is just to have digital goods. So let's say, for example, if people, well, again, it depends on the business, right? But if there's books, you should also looking into saving money by saying, hey, would people be willing to be able to buy a digital copy. And again, you know, there's some people who like the look, the feel, the weight of a book, and that's one thing. But then there's also Kindle, and that's another thing else. Yeah, that's totally fair. I think that's fine. I love books as well, so having a physical copy is definitely different than something like maybe a Kindle or an iPad or whatever kind of tablet device. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and speaking of 1,000 books, the secret killer I find in a lot of small businesses is these two: storage and overhead. So say for example, you want to sell 1,000 books. You're able to get a good deal on the materials, on the freight, on the labor, but where are you going to keep all these books? Where are they going to sit? If you have them sit at a port, that's going to cost way more than having it in just maybe a warehouse. But even a warehouse, unless you already have that kind of set up, it can be an issue. So let's say, for example, you want to have it shipped out from a warehouse. Yeah. There could be a lot of physical issues that you can encounter, and I think you brought up some very realistic ones. Definitely mold. Oh, what's the term? Vermin? And again, this is, I think from an overview of accounting, they would say, here's what you got, here's the categories, here's kind of this. But from a, if you ever get into a personal business, this is the details you kind of got to worry about. Let's see. Mold, vermin, and security. Because unfortunately, you can't stuff 1,000 books under your mattress to keep them safe. You gotta kind of keep them somewhere else where they can be picked up, shipped out, returned to, and, you know, kept in good condition. Oh, well, there you go. It is, I guess it is possible, yeah. A bed out of books. Ah, that could work. Ah, that'd be really neat, actually. Because then instead of like having to like get up to like read a book, you could just like flip over and turn on the light, and then boom, you're already there. You're just reading while you're sleeping before to bed. And then another weird one is overhead. And overhead is usually categorized as labor? No. Employees. It's different from labor. Labor you can outsource. Overhead is usually something like, let's say the manager, right? The person organizing all this. If you're self-employed, it's you. It can get out of control if you're in a larger organization. And the CEOs, yeah. Well, let's just put CEOs, because that's kind of the big one. It can be, well, actually it can be different, right? If you're paying a CEO in cash, yes, that can be a lot. If you're paying them in stock options, it's both expensive and very cheap, because you're not paying them in cash, you're paying them in things that are worth money, but are not directly money that you need to pay them right now. But yeah, looking at these things would hopefully help you keep an eye on other stuff. Pay them in capital. Yeah. And I think overhead is usually an issue for larger organizations, not smaller ones. And that's more, well, it can kind of bleed into other HR stuff, because what if there's someone that gets overpayment and underpayments? There's lawsuits. But again, that's a large organization. That's more an HR thing. If you're just doing accounting, you track the numbers, and then you can kind of, you know, see what sticks out. Returns and allowances. I hear that this is an issue for smaller vendors that use PayPal. Like that person who worked for 10 years? Oh, I never heard that story. But yeah, that would be exactly it. The ones that I've heard are people who they just get paid for free. That could be a thing, yes. And again, that would be more like a, I think HR, because they would track severances. If you're accounting, you're just trying to make sure that all the numbers check out and people are getting paid. Unless, you know, it's kind of merged into, like, it's one category where I know payroll counts as, like, a little bit of both. It's kind of in between. But that's still a little different because you're not there. You're there to track, whatchamacallit? Yeah, you're there to track if someone leaves and goes, but it's not your job to, like, fire them. So that's kind of a weird thing. Actually, if you're doing that, if you're doing payroll, something you need to look out for is continuing deductions. So let's say, for example, you have an employee who works there. If you're doing payroll, you don't have to worry about someone being overpaid. You have to be someone that's constantly paying dues for something, even though they're no longer part of the organization. Sounds a bit weird, I know, but let's say, for example, if they're paying for parking, right? If someone's paying for parking at the office building and you guys have someone you're contracted with for parking, and then they leave the job, or what? And then they leave the job. They skedaddle, right? And then maybe your payroll pays retirement. And then they shouldn't have parking anymore. But because parking's outsourced to a vendor, a third party, they're not keeping track of who's coming and going, because that's something that HR should be telling them to say, hey, this guy left. But if they don't tell them, then you still have it on the payroll that even though you're not paying someone, and it kind of sticks out that you're not paying them, and they're still getting deductions for parking that they're no longer using, that can be an issue. Especially if it's for, like, years. It can be for 5-10 years, because maybe someone might not look in the account if they're, like, older, and they think, oh yeah, this $5 deduction, okay, whatever, right? They just probably think it's something that maybe they went to a parking to go to a concert recently or something. But then that kind of adds up over years, and then later on, and this is an example I'm kind of familiar with, so that's why I'm going into so much detail. Then there's a kind of an issue where there's a potential for a lawsuit. Because then someone realizes, hey, I've been charged 15 years of parking, and now it's in the tens of thousands of dollars. Where's my money at? I wasn't even employed here. Why didn't this get canceled? And so that can be a problem. But again, this is more like oversight on overhead, rather than a natural worry for overhead itself. I think a more natural worry would be something like returns and allowances, because PayPal, for small vendors, when they're barely starting a business and you don't have a lot of history, someone can issue returns for products, and it's very important to have invoicing. Because in this COGS, you want to have as many invoices for all these things as much as possible. You want to have invoices for the people who you're getting the materials from. You want to have invoices for the freight and how much it's going to cost you for that. You want to have pay stubs for the labor. You want to have invoices for the warehouse. You want to have invoices for your employees. Pay stubs, yeah. And you want to have, you want to have a paper trail technically. And you want to have invoices for any products, so then you could look at the returns and see what you got. Because if you don't have an invoice, and again, this is more like a new business kind of issue. If you don't have an invoice for this a return, then someone can just dispute it, and then depending on the company policy, it could either be exploited or, you know, a big loss. An example is Amazon. So Amazon has a very customer-friendly return policy, where for almost any reason, you can say, hey, I got this thing, I got a pet rock, and for some reason the rock was chipped. And now I want a refund, and I want to return it. So then you could fill it out online, nice and easy, very customer friendly, right? And send it back to them. And that's, again, very friendly for the customers. However, then the company, and keeping track of that, is going to be at a loss, because then you need to have a certain amount set to pay for the return, pay for maybe the loss in inventory, because this is now, you know, broken goods. And then you also have to be aware of scammers too. Again, this is more of an Amazon problem than a small business problem. But say, for example, someone buys a hat, and then they get like a cheap knockoff version of the hat. And then, so they say, oh, this hat's messed up, and then they just return the cheap knockoff. And then they keep the valuable one. Again, this is not something I recommend. It's bad business for both you and, you know, doing things in bad faith. But companies have to keep this in mind and have to kind of make a cushion for this sort of thing. So that's part of the allowance for returns. But yeah, invoicing, that's kind of the big thing. Scammer is gonna scam. Yeah. Very unfortunate. But invoicing might help you prevent other issues. So say, for example, if someone's trying to scam you. Oh, I just remembered an example. Someone trying to scam you out of materials, right? So there's a story about a guy who works for a company that makes goods with steel. And steel is pretty complicated because there's different countries that work in steel. There's the states. How do I draw the states? I don't know. There's USA, there's China, there's Russia. And each of them have different business practices, I guess is the way to put it. And usually if you do invoicing in the US, let's say, for example, you want a certain grade of steel, then you'll usually get it. And in other places, unless you have the proper paperwork, it's a little iffy. So I remember a story of, let's see if I kind of remember. There's a guy who ordered steel from Russia. And the problem was that they ordered a certain amount of tons to get steel, right? And only the top layer was of that right percentage, that right grade. And then the bottom one was not. And even though he had all the paperwork to kind of dispute it, it was only through that and some other conflict resolution practices that they're able to cut their losses. They weren't able to get the rest of the percent grade steel. They were only able to get this much, and then this at a discount. And that's something to kind of be aware of when dealing with these things internationally. Invoices will help you, you know, get at least some of what you got, but it might not get everything that you got. I know I'm being a little vague, I know I'm being a little obtuse, but I'm just trying not to name names in these examples. The point is that invoices help. They help a lot. That could have been a total loss. Yeah, I'm just saying that this steel deal could have been a total loss. They might have had to just only deal with a little bit. They did, But then they at least got something with a discount that they could kind of work with later. Let's see. What are some other things? Ah. So here's something funny. What is not a COG? What is not a cost of goods sold? Well, here's some nice exclusions. Office rentals. Advertising. Accounting and legal fees. Yeah. Oh. I guess management salaries. Really? Yeah, that makes sense. Well then, hold on. I guess I'm a little confused. I guess management is categorized differently than labor for cost of goods. So let me just scoot some of this over here. My apologies. I guess overhead would just be like the store that you have. No, wait. That's not it. Yeah, no, overhead would be the store. There we go. If you have a storefront, this is where you sell it. Ah. Ah, yes, ChatGPT. Saving the day. Okay, so these, I guess, are operating expenses, and that's a nice category. And it's different from the making of the goods itself. So again, separate from COGS, yes. But also, this is something you also want to keep an eye out. What's... Let me see if I can do more with COGS, though, before we get into that. Okay. So there is specific calculations. With inventory, let's see, so beginning of the fiscal year. So let's say fiscal year 2025. You look at materials. And then work in progress. Let me just do shorter. Finished goods. So this would be something that you would do at the beginning of the fiscal year. Or, from what I know, they use fiscal years. I don't know anyone who really uses, like, specifically only calendar years. They would calculate it as maybe... It depends on the business. Some places they have the fiscal year in the middle of the year. Some places they have the fiscal year at the beginning of the calendar year. So I just say fiscal year. Finished goods. And this is all stuff that you would look at the... Sorry, let me scoot this. Okay, so if you're gonna start for fiscal year, you would look all these things because that's what would happen at the end of fiscal year 2024. 24. So let's say there's the cutoff date. Anything that you have Ah. Can I scoot this? There we go. Anything that you have at the end of the year scoots over to the next year. Makes sense? And then you look at the previous year's cost. Oh. Is this right? Sorry, I'm going along with you as we do this. Yes. But also you would determine the cost of the things that were purchased for that year. So I'll just read it verbatim. Let's see. Identify the beginning inventory of raw materials. Yeah, sorry, I know I'm losing you a bit. I'm just, because I'm kind of reading as I'm doing this, but I'm not doing it from memory, so hopefully reading it will help. You identify the beginning inventory of raw materials, then works in progress and finished goods, based on the prior year's ending inventory amounts. And you determine the cost of purchases of the raw materials that were made in the period, taking the account into freight in. Trade and cash discounts. Then, you determine the ending inventory balance. Typically, it's based on physical cycle counts and done in accordance with the company's inventory valuation method of choice. Ensure that any other direct costs of production are included in the valuation of inventory. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about the gibberish. I thought I had a reputable site I was looking at. Well, at least it has this one. First in, first out. And last in, first out. And I guess that accounts for COGS as well. Yeah, that's for inventory. Have you learned, well, yeah, first in, first out, or last in, first out? Ah, okay. Well, I guess here's a good way to do it. So imagine you have a stack of 3 books, right? This book was made in, let's say January. This book was made in June. And this book was made in December. Right? And they each have their own costs associated with them. So they each have their own, let's say, for example, January materials were cheap, and December materials were expensive. And June was kind of in the middle. Right? And then, so materials. And then let's look at labor. Let's say labor was still the same for each one. I'm trying to write as fast as I can. And what else? Yeah, let's just leave it at that. There's other parts to it, but this I think is kind of simple enough. Okay. So, let's see. First in, first out. I'll just put this here. So you have 3 items that were made at different times because you're constantly making production. throughout the year, right? And they have different costs associated with them because maybe it fluctuates during the year. First in, first out is assuming that it was sold with the oldest unit inventory are sold first. So January was sold in, let's say, June, and the June book was sold in December. Whoops. And the December one's still sitting there, right? Last in, first out. I have a Q&A for this in my accounting coach. Oh, really? Ooh, let me check that out. Let's see. Oh, wait, can I? Oh, no, I can't open it on stream. Q&A, you say? I don't know if it's in the free section. Okay. Oh, I think I see it. Yeah, there it is. Oh, wow, what a handy website. Cost flow assumption usually associated with the valuation of inventory cost. Okay. The oldest units are the first cost to be removed from the balance sheet. Yes. Okay. Therefore, under the most recent costs will remain in the inventory and be reported on the company's balance sheet. Okay, now let's see if they... Okay, yeah. So, again, I was just trying to draw a visual. Yeah, it is. This is very nice. Oh, thank you. Okay, so this will help me help you. You know what? I'll stick with this then as my primary source. But yeah, first in, first out is... So you would have like a sheet on the books. The books on the books, right? Saying you have the January book. Oh, I mean, I already drew this. What am I doing? Yeah, the January is being sold in June. The June is being sold in December, and the December is just sitting there, right? And actually, it provides a very even better example. Oh my goodness, with numbers. Okay, so I think that's going to be a bit more helpful because here's kind of more like a visual one. But on the website, it provides a numbers example for accounting, which is about numbers. So that makes sense. Let's see. So I'm just going to read it out loud just so if someone's not on the website and they just kind of stumble upon the stream, they'll kind of know what's going on. Let's assume a company sold only one product that had 10 units on hand at the beginning of the accounting year with a cost of $19 each. During the year, the company purchased an additional 145 units in order. 40 units at $20, 50 units at $21, and 55 units at $22. Let's also assume that the company uses the periodic inventory system and FIFO cost flow assumptions, and that 130 units were sold. Therefore, there will be... Oh, well, this is all numbers. Sorry. There'll be 25 units remaining in the inventory with the... I'll have to also draw this out, I guess. And the cost of goods become... Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll use their example. 40 units. Well, actually, okay, do you want me to cover this by basically copying their example if you already know the website? Because, again, this might be helpful for someone else viewing, but I don't know if this can be directly helpful to you because you already have the source together. But I guess the point I just wanted to make is that these are two different ways in which you can kind of do cogs. Yeah, we can skip it. Okay. I'll just leave it. But this is a thing. Yeah. This is a thing. You can check it out. This is part of cogs. So there you go. Let's see what else. Yeah. Is there anything else that's related to cogs that you have maybe more specific questions with? Or any other kind of math, writing, I guess? Nope. Okay. Awesome. That's totally fine. But yeah, thank you for helping bringing this up. Yeah, well, I mean, that's, yeah, sorry to put a lot on your plate with all this. For school, you only need to know what they teach you. For life, I think this kind of stuff is a bit more helpful. Yeah, okay, good stuff. Nice. Yeah, because, you know, there's difference between the counting that you learn on the books and the more, you know, practical, messed up, and or creative accounting that can happen. Don't do creative accounting, though. I hope you don't. That's always bad. It never works out. Or if it does, it's only temporarily. Let's see. Oh, I only have 10 minutes left. Okay. Well, what should I fill this with? Let me talk about, I guess since we're doing a lot of this, maybe startups? A little bit, just a skosh. Just a bit. So let's see. Where would that even be? I don't think there's a site that actually has kind of good information on where it kind of covers all this stuff and like nice chunky practical examples, but I think I'll just go with what I'm familiar with, and let's do no, not PayPal. Let's just do startups. So say for example you want to sell a book, right? You want to make your own. How do you do it? That's a great question. I wish I knew too. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Well, not really. But there's places that you can go to. I think one popular one is, where is it? Amazon eBooks. That is an option. I don't know if it's the best option. Because Amazon they have their own process. Oh geez, it's been a while since I looked into it. There's publishers? No. Yes, I'll just put it here. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling now, because I don't really have anything specific to kind of talk about. My apologies. But say, for example, if you want to make a book, there's also publishers. And there's also agencies, which are a bit different, because then they kind of throw your things at the publishers and Amazon. And of course, there's always self-made. And they each have their own pros and cons. Is there another option? I'm probably missing another option. Self-made would be you handle everything. The creation, the distribution, the advertising, all on your own. Usually these are like independent, oh, what are they called? I guess comics. Independent comics, indie comics. Although there are publishers for those too. But usually they fall into this category for the ones that I've seen. And then they have to sell those at cons. So usually that would be something like, not exactly Comic-Con, but more like independent artist fairs, art festivals, a farmer's market even, just these random places. And they would kind of maybe print it out themselves, maybe keep track of, was it, not Kinko's, Staples? Yeah, they would have a way to make it themselves. And that is one way to make your own book. Another way is through Amazon eBooks. And this is a bit more funky, because here, they like the rights. So, how do I put that? You might have legal issues. LE. Because you're more or less selling that than you are the product. Because, you know, they're not going to really have a lot of costs in terms of labor. They're not going to have a lot of costs on storage because it's going to be probably an ebook, materials, ebook, freight, ebook. So in order to have any kind of profit, they think, hey, we're going to mainly capitalize on the legal rights of whatever you give to us to sell. And they hope that that's where the money is, because if there's a bunch of, let's say, independent artists or book writers who want to sell a book, they only need one of them to be a hit to make a profit. The rest, they can kind of eat the costs. So that's kind of where you want to be careful about. Because once you sell it to them through their publishing, then you kind of lose that to them. Yeah. And a publisher is technically the same way, but then you also get physical copies, which is nice. And there's a bit more flexibility, where it's not quite as a hard sell of the legal rights. Because here it's kind of just like a cookie cutter contract. Here you can kind of, there's some wiggle room. And also you get, you know, actual hard copies of your books. So that's pretty cool. But personally, I'm a fan of self-made. Because this is what gets the attention of the other people. And then you get them all, well, I shouldn't say that. Not everyone gets their attention. But for some of the bigger ones, you can get their attention if you want it. You can choose. Because once you're here, you can always go to these other options. If you're self-made and you make your own books, you sell them wherever you can, and you advertise where you can choose to either continue it, you can back out, you could change genres. There's a lot of flexibility in that, right? But once you go to a publisher, then you're looking at contracts. Once you go into Amazon, you're looking at contracts. An agency, I think, would be someone that just kind of does this for you. And so they're just kind of like a middleman. Again, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you start from somewhere, if you start from here, then you can always go anywhere else. In fact, one of my favorite examples, as silly as this is Twilight. Because Twilight was actually this. It was a self-made fan fiction that ended up becoming popular enough to where it attracted attention of publishers to where they wanted to make an actual book, and then it became a movie and a franchise and the whole shebang. But it started here, just writing for fun, making a book, and just kind of doing it as fan fiction. Also, you know, if you're just typing it, if it's online, you save a lot of costs and all this kind of stuff. Oh, okay. Well, that was a silly side track. But there it is. Sorry, I'm just checking something really quick. But yeah, hey, thank you for coming along. Thank you for sticking with me, book buyer. Always a joy to have you around. Can't wait to learn more about accounting with you next time. And yeah, I think this will be it for today. Have a good night. Oh right, my timer is broken. I gotta fix that.